So right, let me open the PowerPoint slides. So what I have done actually with these slides, I have converted the thing into PDF so that I can scribble on it. That's actually the main important thing for this one. So anyway, welcome all to the week 7 of HIT137. So in this week, we'll be looking much more towards the objects and the classes, right? So this is a very important thing. Because if you're planning towards going for an application development, and application development means that you work with objects in the applications, and objects can be created from a class. So that's why it is an important class for us, because this will help us to go more advanced application development in the coming weeks that I'm going to teach you. So in this class, it will be the motivation of this class will be how to work with classes and how to define objects and everything. So these are a couple of things we'd like to know about what actually a class is, what actually an object is, which I've already told a couple of times, what are the attributes and the methods that you have in an object, how you use those methods to run on that object, then how you can create an appropriate data structure to call those objects and put them into your program. Then we'll talk about what is constructor, variables, instances, variables, and then methods for a different class or objects. So these are some of the important things that we'll be doing. Again, this week also I'll go through the concept, I'll go through the code as well, and you'll understand this will be important for you to develop your applications in the coming weeks. So last week we did based on turtle graphics, so I'm expecting that you have started working on these graphics. Your third assignment will be up hopefully by tomorrow. I'm planning to upload your third assignment, and I'll give you the date and time for your third assignment as well, which will be sometime around end of week 11 or mid of week 12. I will see actually how we go with that one. So, but yeah, it is. And keeping in mind, your second assignment is due on 10th of September. So you've got another 10 days, 11 days to finish. So please keep in mind. So I'll discuss a bit about the second assignment submission today as well, so that you know. So I got 3 assessments and 1 final exam. Very clean, everything is on track, marking rubrics are there, assignment submissions, videos, recordings, everything here, so there is no complaint. So you should not complain that I haven't given a submission format, I haven't given the marking rubric, I haven't given the assignment on time, so everything is clear to all of you. Even I go and show you how the assignment should look like, what are the expectations that I have. So please keep an eye on that one. So I'll post my third assessment hopefully tomorrow, and I'll create an announcement so that you know your assessment is up. Your third assessment will be based on application development. So pretty much what you're learning now, that will be based on that one. Straightforward. Okay, so these are actually in this class we'll be continuing again with string, how to use that string as an object. This is actually a class string, how we can effectively use that one. And then we do some operator overlaying and how to do addition, subtraction in a class as well. They're a bit critical, but they're a bit difficult. I mean, they're a bit different compared to the simple addition operator. So we'll see actually how we can do that type of things in an objects and classes. Now, let's start what actually a class is. I mean, a class is actually called a blueprint. That means it actually tells us that how an object will look like. What are the attributes an object will have? What are the methods that an object will have? And that is actually called a class. So what you do whenever you define any class, that means your aim is to get object out of that class. So in order to create that object out of that class, what you have to do, you have to define the class first. So the class in a nutshell is called a blueprint of the whole attributes, how an object will look like, what are the attributes, what are the methods that an object will have. That is called a class. And what an object is actually called an instance of a class. So what you do, once you create a class, then you can create an object out of that class. Or you can say it's a copy that inherits all the properties of that class, and an object is created. So an object is actually some sort of, coming into existence. So you got the blueprint, and then you make the product out of that particular blueprint. So actually a class, an object is something like that, which is an instance of a class that actually captures all the attributes and the methods that are defined in the class. And based on that, the object is defined. So these are 2 basic definitions between a class and object. And this is a very important thing because this talks about the object-oriented programming. So once you start in the coming semesters, you will see that you'll be working with object-oriented programming concept as well. So the first thing that you'll be learning about what a class is and what an object is. And keeping in mind, because we are moving towards the advanced level of programming, so what we do, we look into each and every problems in terms of objects and how to connect them, how to build attributes in those objects. Okay, let's continue. I'll give you some examples so that it will help you to understand how an object will look like. Think about this. Here, the class is actually called the car. So you're defining a class, which is actually a car, and a car has got. So once you define a class, a car, and then what you do, you define an object, which is a car from that class. So this is actually an object of that class car, and this object has got some methods and attributes. So you can see that in a nutshell, we say in this way that a class contains a blueprint. From there, we have created an object, which is called a car, and the object contains what? The methods and the attributes that you have in that object. So this is a class and an object relation. So you define a class as a blueprint and you create an object out of that blueprint. Think about this one as well. A cookie cutter, it is really a class because it defines that you'll be using that class to define object. And when you create some cookies like this on that same shape, width, diameter, all these things are actually a part of an object that actually defines the attributes of that object, right? So this is class and this is actually an object for us. Similarly, think about student. Guys, I can hear you guys. Please, when I'm speaking, please, yeah, pretty nice, thank you. So when I'm talking about the students, a student actually can be in general a student. So that is a class. We are all student over here. And a student contains a number of attributes. For example, a student name, roll number, name, location, age, courses. So these are called a class. And when you create a student, okay, so you create multiple students out of that class. So you can define one single class for a student and you can create multiple objects of that class, yes or no? One single class will talk about the student name, location, age, subjects, units, everything to talk about. And then what you do, using the same class, you can create thousands of students. The difference is the name, location, age, and everything, right? So you can create multiple instances of the same class using that object. So when I'm saying an object, I'm saying actually that I'm creating an object out of the blueprint. So that's why it is so effective and it is so important that if you can understand how actually an object should look like, you can add all those attributes and the methods in the class itself, and then you just create an object from that class. This is a very basic definition of a class and object. And let's continue further, and I'll show you some of the examples of how to define a class and then how to create object out of that class. So refer to PDF code. So I'll go side by side. Now, this is the first one that I'm working on, how to create an object out of a class. When I'm creating a class, this is called the keyword class, CLASS, this is actually a class. And then my class name is user. So I said I have created a blueprint, which is called user, that is a class, and it ends with a colon, right? So it's a colon. Then after that I have said pass. Why have you used pass over here? I will say it later, but for the time being, see that there's a pass actually. This pass is actually passing is actually avoiding some instructions. Like for example, one of the important instructions is that when you define a class should be able to initiate itself. Okay, so that is something that I'll be teaching in the coming slides. But for the time being, we are just putting a pass. That means I can avoid that initiation that a class can do. But anyway, we'll come to that later. Then what I have done, I have created an object like user1 out of that class called user. So this is actually user, which is a class, and then with that class user, I have created an object which is user1. So this is actually a simple syntax. So now I have got a class which is user, and then have one object which is user1. Then I'll have another object which is called user2. So these are actually objects that I have created. So the first object is called user1 that I can see. Then what I'm doing, I'm creating an object and a method or an attribute of that particular object. So my first user1 dot So it is actually object.method. Remember, we used to create an object.method relation. So user1.method or the variable which is first name Dev, user1.last name Bowman. So that means this particular user one has got a first name Dev and the last name Bowman. So I created an attribute of that particular user, which is called Dev Bowman, which is the user, it is the first name and last name. Then what I'm saying, print user1.first name, user1.last name. So as you can see, it is Dev Bowman. So from here, what I understood, I have created a class called user. And then from that class, I have created one object of that class user, so which is user1. Now user1 has got a couple of attributes, that is a name, which is first name and last name, which is Dev and Bowman. And then I'm just printing that as user1.first name, comma, user1.last name. Same goes with user2 again. I have created another user, which is of the same class, which is user. So I've created an object called user2. Then user2 also has got a first name, which is Alex, and the last name, which is called Cole. So it is called Alex Cole. Then what I'm saying, print user2.first name, user2.last name. So this is Alex Cole. User2.first name, user2.last name is Alex Cole. So that is also pretty much done. Now let's see. I'm going to add some more attributes. I would like to add the age of the user1. So I'm saying user1.age, which is 25. So this is user1.first name, user1.last name, user1.age, which is 25. Fine. Then I'm going to put another attribute for the user2. Guys, I can hear you guys. This is my last request, please. It creates a lot of interruption, please. I'll give you time to talk, but let me finish my class first. Okay. Then user2.favorite book. So this user2 actually has got another attributes, which is called, he has got a favorite book to look into it. So that is called user2.favorite book, and the book name is ABC book. So this is another attribute that I have done. Then I'm saying I would like to put all the attributes of my user1, which is user1.first name, user1.last name, user1.age, which is Steph Bowman 25. Similarly, with the second one, user2.first name, user2.last name, user2.favorite book, which is Alex Cole and ABC book. So from here, very simple thing that I understood. If I just summarize that thing in this way, so I'll just wrap it up so that you can understand actually what an object is, what a class is, what an object is, and what is an attribute of that object. So initially, we have created a class called user. Then after that, I have created two objects. One is user1 and the other one is user2. Then each user has got multiple attributes. So one is first name, last name, and age. And this one contains first name, last name, and favorite book. So this is my class. These are two objects that I have created from that class. And these are all attributes of that particular object. Clear? Understood, guys? This side? Clear? How about you guys?
Yes, sir.
Good. How about online students? Have you understood what I have said so far? Is that clear to all of you? Because once you understand these things, it will be easy for me to understand all the other things. Okay, very good. So we understood one particular definition of a user, of a class, an object, and an attribute. We haven't done any method yet. We have just put the attribute. There's a difference between an attribute and there's a difference between a method. Attribute means what? It actually represents how the object will look like. For example, I'm dark, I'm tall, I have hairs. These are actually all attributes. And method, I can run, I can perform something. So there are operations. So both of them can be written as object.method or object.attribute. So far, what we have done, we have created some attribute to that object, putting the name of the user, age of the user, favorite book of the user, this type of thing we're doing. But we can do also other operations if we want to. That's why you do like string dot length, length of the string. Then we can say string dot substring or concatenate or find. So there are a number of methods that you can use on the string itself. So that is a good operation. But let's continue further. We'll understand a bit more on those one as well. Okay, let's refer to PPT again. So this is the PPT. So our PDF code is done. Now, when I was saying that when you define a class, you should also define something called init method. What actually init method is? Init method means that it has the ability, when you define an init method, that means a class has got the ability to initiate itself. That means when I'm calling that class, it can automatically create object based on all the properties and attributes that I have defined in the class. That is called initialization. Okay. So it automatically runs when the user instantiates the class. So the way actually it works is called init method. The code is like this. Please guys, it is an important thing you will not understand. This is called double underscore. Okay, this is usually called double underscore. This is called double underscore. Then init, then again double underscore. So this is called initialization. So I'm saying I have defined a class with an initialization. So I have got a class name. That class can initiate by itself. You can put any object from that class, and you can have number of different parameters that you'd like to add. For example, object.name, the name that you have given, then the object, the self, which actually the self means initiating itself with a new object, score, and then you can do also all sort of appending. I will show you this thing in the coming slide with the code itself. But from here, what we understood, a couple of things. First of all, when I'm going to initiate any class that has the ability to initiate itself, I put the first thing as called self. Self means it allows the class to create or initiate its object by itself. The second thing is that the name of the object that you like to create, and other sort of parameters that you have. You get all this thing inside, and then you just change with this self dot the name, self dot scores, and you can start creating multiple objects with the same initialization. Okay. Now, how it works? Let me go to the slide. Then you'll understand that one better. Here it is. So this will give you simple, very straightforward work. Remember, I told you this pass, right? So this pass is actually bypassing this initialization, right? But now I want to create a full class with all the methods and attributes that they have. So that's why I'm not going to bypass. Rather, I will add the initialization ability of that class itself. So I'm saying class user. Can you define the class as so that it can initialize itself as a self? That means the user can initiate itself with the full name and the birthday. Then whatever the class will be, it will be self.name, which will be full name, and then self.birthday, which will be birthday. So this is an attribute. Self is the object name, which I'll show you. Dot full name is the name, and dot birthday is the birthday of the particular object or of the particular user. Now, this is actually a very effective way of how to initialize a class and how you can define objects from that class. Now, I'm calling that particular class called user. I'm creating an object user1 of that class, which is user. So this is my class user. Now, because this class has got an ability to initiate itself, I'm just putting Dave Bowman and then the birthday, right? Now, when I'm calling this particular function over here, because this self is actually telling me that what actually the object that I have created from that class user. So the object that I have created is user1. So this self is now what? User1 for me. Okay. Then I'm saying user1.name, which is full name, which is Dave Bowman. This is the one. So Dave Bowman has moved to full name, and then this 1971 15th of March, it moved to the birthday. So user1 dot name, which is Dave Bowman, user1 dot birthday, which is 1971 15th of March. Then I'm saying print user1 dot name and user1 dot birthday, which is Dave Bowman, this one. Now, why I'm doing that thing? That is important. It's a simple thing. This one single class now can create multiple instances, and you don't need to assign separately. You just push the parameter and it will create. Now, suppose if you're creating a student, you can have full name, birthday, location, age, okay, units studying, courses, all these things, country. You can put all the parameters in that particular initialization itself. And whenever you call that class with that object or the user will be the self for that one, and all the other parameters will go to the attributes that you're creating over here. This is one of the classic way of how to define objects from a class. Now, let me clear this thing again so that I can give you one more time. I can make you understand how it looks. It's very simple but very effective. So what I'm doing over here, I'm defining a class called user. So that means this is my class user. This user has the ability to initiate itself. So whatever objects you create from the user, it will create based on the initiation that is given. So this user has got a couple of initiation. One is called the full name, the self. That means whatever object you'll be creating will come to the self, the object name. That object has got two attributes. One is called full name, and the other one is called birthday. Okay, so the way I'm doing, I'm defining that I'm initializing that particular class with a self. That means it can initiate itself. It has got two attributes. One is called full name and one is called birthday. Now, when I'm calling that user one, when I'm calling that user actually, when I'm creating that object of user one from that class, so this user one is actually my object name, which is self. So that means self will be now user one, and full name is actually my Dave Bowman because I'm pushing that as a parameter. So I can say user one dot name is Dave Bowman, then user one dot birthday, this button comes over here, is 1971. And then I'm saying print user one dot name and user one dot birthday, which is Dave Bowman, 1971, 15th of March. Understood? Clear, guys? This side? How about you guys? How about you? Good. You understand, right, what I have said so far? Is that clear? Good. So this is actually how I create a class, an object from a user, and this particular class has got an initialization as well. Let me see, online students, have you understood so far what I have said? Is that clear? Good, very good. So let's continue further and see how we can go. Okay, I'll come later. Okay, let me finish this one as well. Another one. Okay, what I have done, I have created a class again as username, and this user, okay, the class name is user. This class has got the ability to initiate itself. So define underscore, double underscore, then init, then double underscore. It can initiate itself, and it has got two attributes or two parameters that can be pushed. One is called full name and birthday. Okay. I am saying the object dot name is the full name. I am saying object dot birthday is actually birthday. So these are two things that I have done. We have already done that thing. Let's start. I'm creating an object which is called user one. So the user one will be self now. So now I'm having user one, then I can have user two, user three, user four, not a problem. Every time the self will be changed with user one, user two, whatever class object is creating, it will be replaced with that self itself. So user one dot name is full name. So my full name is Dave Bowman. So that means user one dot name will be Dave Bowman. User one dot birthday will be 1971, 3rd of March. So these two are simple. So I'm saying print user one dot name, which is Dave Bowman. Okay. Now let us continue further. What they have done, they got the full name and they want to split it with space. So you know that this is called a method. So this is actually an object, and this is the method that I'm performing on that object, which is split. So I'm going to split that full name with the space. So that means Dave and Bowman will be splitted down. So Dave is one word, Bowman is another word, and they have been splitted with a space based on the space. Now I'm saying self.firstname, which is actually user1, that is the object. User1.firstname is name, because I have put that thing into a list. As you can see, name piece actually is a list. So if I see a name pieces, this is actually a list. It contains two words. One is dev, and the other one is Bowman. So this is what? 0, and this is either 1, or you can say from the negative as -1 if you want to create in that way. Okay, or 1 also, whatever you say. So I'm saying self.firstname, which is user1.firstname. I'm creating a new attribute. User1.firstname is name pieces 0 index. That means dev. Self.lastname, which is another attribute of the particular user1, is name pieces -1. You know that -1, right? List actually -1 is the last one for us. So user1.firstname is dev, user1.lastname is Bowman. So I'm saying print user1.firstname, which is dev, print user1.lastname, which is Bowman, print user1.birthday, which is 1971, 3rd of March. Clear? You know how to split it. And once you put that thing, once you split that thing, you put it in a list, and the index position of the list has been either 0. You could have said 1, but because you're using 0 or -1, so that we can revise all this thing. 0 is the first location, and if you go from the right, it is called -1. These are last location from that one. Clear, guys? Understood? Good. Very good. Now let's continue further and see what we can do more. Same thing goes over here, but with this one, let me go to the Python code now. So I understood now that how to create a class, that how to create an object of that class, and I also understood that how we can initiate that class. Now, when I initiate this class in this way, so all the parameters, first name, last name, date, age, birth, locations, units, courses, country, everything can be pushed into that one particular class initialization. And then you can create 100 of classes. This is actually how we create a student portal. I mean, we have only one class, and then when we register a student, we just call that class, and we register that student as an object of our system, and that object student has got all the properties, like my name is Sami Azam, my age, my country, my status, and everything. Everything has been defined. I just type it in, and then automatically I create an object. And this object is stored into the system in my software so that I can retrieve the data whenever it is required. So that's why it is important to understand this object and class. That's the first basic things for us to know, right? So in that way, you can create multiple objects. So if you have already got your first class correct, okay, if I want to have a student, what are the information I need to collect from the student? If I can put that thing correct in the first go, then after that you can create thousands of users or thousands of students from that one class. Student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. Just by calling that class itself, you can create thousands of students without any problem. Okay? Good. Now, I'll also show you a little bit of docstring. What actually a doc? It's such a very important thing for us. A docstring is actually called a documentation that is used, which is string literal. Now, it actually gives us, in a nutshell, it gives us about the definition of the classes, the methods, the objects that they're using, the attributes that they're using. So for example, if you'd like to see, because when you write a big applications, you end up with hundreds of classes and hundreds of objects. Now it is very hard for us to know what each and every class does, because it's very hard. Because if you're working with a big application, there might be hundreds of objects that are connected, or there might be hundreds of classes. Now, what each and every class does, what is their properties, what is their methods, in which module they are running, all these things are very hard for us to remember. That's why we take the help of docstring. A docstring actually allows us to explain this class in more details and helps us to extract the information about the class itself. I'll show you in the coming slides, then you can understand what actually docstring means. So let's refer to the PDF code about the docstring. Now you already understood this thing. This is called, okay, the first docstring that we are appearing is actually called the class level. Then we have the module level, we have the function and method definition. Let's go one at a time. This is the docstring that I have created, which is actually around the class level. How we create a doc string? By putting 3 inverted commas, sorry, 1, 2, 3, and then the information, the text, and then 1, 2, 3. So this is actually called a doc string. So when you put any sort of sentence or text in 3 inverted commas, they're considered to be as doc string of that particular document string of the particular class. When I'm saying a doc string can be applied at the class level, that means the one that is below the class is called a doc string at the class level. So let's understand this one only, then we'll go slowly. This particular class has got one doc string that is defined at the class level, that is at the top level, and this doc string is actually a sort of comments for us. Remember in the code we write comments as well. This is actually a comment for us. But in the comments, what happens? We need to go to the code and see those comments. A doc string, if you just type help, it will give me all the comments that is written in the doc string itself. That is the difference between a comment and a doc. Because you cannot print the comments in the print file, can you? It is already written in the code. You cannot print that. You have to go to the code to see the comments. A doc string, you can print the doc string into your console to see what are the information that are there. And that's why the doc string is important. Okay, so this is the first doc string. Again, we have defined the self name, self birthday, precess, and everything is fine. So you know all these things that you have learned. We already learned all those things about how it is working, how we have defined a class and objects, how we have split the name, put the first name and the last name in different attributes. Then I'm saying help user. This help is actually a very important command that actually defines the whole things of the user of the class itself. So if you see, if you go down, so you already know that Dave Bowman is a first name, last name, Dave Bowman first name, Bowman last name. This is the date of birth. Then when I'm saying help user, it is going to give me some of the important, which you'll come to know slowly and slowly. So these are some printed text that comes. So when I'm saying I'm creating a help on the class user, which is defined in the module main. Although I haven't defined anything main over here, but it is actually by default, it is been defined in the main module. The class has got one user, okay? There are some built-in objects in the class. One is called full name, one is called birthday, and the doc string of the class is, this class is going to be used for creating user with name and birthday. Methods defined here. One is the first method that we have defined is called initialization with the self, full name, birthday. There are no dictionary, there are no weak references. So by this itself, at least you know a couple of things. First of all, you understand what this class is doing, okay? Why this class has been defined, which is module main. What are the methods that are defined in the class? We have only one method, which is called initialization method, okay? And what are the parameters that we have in that method, or the attributes that is also defined. And then there are no dictionary or no weak reference for that. It will come to you slowly and slowly. But this is actually a very important thing, a help. So when you say help a class name, it will give you pretty much a summary of all the things that we have in that particular class. The class is defined in which module, how many methods are there, what is this class about, is there any dictionary, is there any weak references or not, all these things will be defined in that class itself. So it's a really good thing, because in that way what happened, you can print out all this doc string, whatever you want. This is something that you cannot do with a comment section. When you write some code and then you put some comments, and if you write that code, you cannot print anything that is after the comment section, right? You cannot print. So you have to go back to the code to see what that comment is. But over here, when you end up with writing a big applications, when you have hundreds of classes that you should work, if you have this about doc string over there written once, you just say help class user, help car, help any sort of objects you're talking about, okay, house. And then it will give me all the methods that are there to define a house, to define a car, to define an animals, to define a display, anything that, or define a computer. So any sort of class that you're defining will be defined in that, under that help. So that's why doc string is quite important for us to understand. We're going slowly and slowly. Although this is something as a part of the output that you don't need to learn, but it is something that you should know how to read those things. And slowly and eventually, the more you practice, you'll understand all those things. Okay, let's continue further. Let me see. This is doc stream. Okay, refer to the PDF code, and we'll go to the PDF code now. Okay. But before that, let me go to the online students. So online students, have you understood so far what I have said? Is that clear? Very good. Only one, two, couple of more. We have 50 students over there. Thank you. Thank you. I understood that you understood now. Let me stop this sharing and I'll have another sharing for this. Let me stop this recording. Sorry, not sharing. Stop the recording. And